Hey guys, it's Kyle from Zym Media, and I have a question. Have you ever felt like you've stumbled onto the ground floor of something really cool? Like you found something that is just totally up your alley and jiving with you in all the best ways, and then you realize no one you know has even heard of this thing? It's a fun place to be, and it is exactly where I find myself when it comes to Troubleshooter, Abandoned Children. Described as the first episode in a series of games, Troubleshooter is a turn-based strategy RPG with battles that'll give you a serious helping of XCOM flashbacks, character customization that takes me back to my Final Fantasy Tactics days, and a story that comes straight out of an anime. It's a game that manages to take a large amount of elements from other games and meld them together to create an experience that, at least for the about 20 hours I've put into the game so far, had me constantly eager to dive deeper into the layers of strategy and customization it provided. And I can't wait to play more. Troubleshooter takes place in the small nation of Valhalla, a place established by 3 other countries after a war to facilitate free trade between them. That being said, they didn't want to risk Valhalla getting too uppity and disrupting the delicate power balance, and so Valhalla, as a nation, was banned from having an army of its own. The country becomes rampant with crime and disorder, and with no centralized force to try and counteract these criminals, the Valhallan government decides to create the Troubleshooters. Troubleshooters are citizens who are given the right and jurisdiction to assist Valhalla police in their struggle against the gangs and criminals that threaten social order and the safety of the populace. Troubleshooter companies began to pop up all across the nation, and heroic-minded citizens, or at least those looking to profit off the chaos, took to the streets to clean up the trash. Basically, they're privatized security. And also everyone has magic powers for some reason. It's anime as hell. In Troubleshooter Abandoned Children, you play as Albus, a newly registered troubleshooter who starts his own company with the goal of protecting the people and hopefully turning Valhalla into a peaceful place to live. He's generic good guy anime hero through and through, and honestly, there's nothing too wrong with that. So, as Albus, it's up to you to build up your fledgling company and fight crime. Of course, doing that alone would be mighty difficult, which is why the real treasures are the friends you make along the way. The game has a total of 9 playable characters, all with a unique set of skills, classes, and personalities, though at my point in the game I still only have the first 3. These characters join you as you progress through the 80 missions the game provides, and while each of them has their own inherent strengths and weaknesses, it's up to you to craft exactly what kind of character they fully become. And the greatest tool at your disposal is the mastery system. Masteries are passive or conditional buffs and skills that you equip onto your character. The masteries are split into 5 different categories: basic, attack, defense, support, and ability. Each character has a set amount of slots for these masteries, which open up as the character grows in level. You obtain these masteries mainly through 2 ways: killing enemies to obtain masteries that they possessed, or crafting masteries by using others that you don't need. These can apply bonuses as simple as a static plus 10% to dodge, or as in-depth as activating counterattacks, reducing turn cooldowns based on certain conditions, or transforming ways that some of your abilities perform. Building combos of these masteries, both on a single character and in synergistic ways with the rest of your party, can allow you to craft your troubleshooters into unstoppable killing machines in some of the most fun and unique ways. Of course, none of that would mean much if the battles themselves weren't fun. Luckily, they are. If you played the XCOM games, you know the basics. Moving around a grid, taking full or half cover, hit percentages up the wazoo. It's all there. The difference here is in the increased reliance on special abilities and how they work. Unlike XCOM, where your characters and enemy characters alternate taking turns as teams, every action a character takes adds to a general amount of time they have to wait until their next turn. Move farther and do big attacks, your turn will take a bit longer to come around. Want to let the enemy advance a bit closer and not act until then? You can pass your turn to make it so that you'll act again quickly. There's a lot of strategy in pacing your team and not overexerting yourself, and that ties into Vigor. Vigor is the balance to your character's powerful abilities and is the closest analog to XCOM's reloading. Whereas your team doesn't have a set amount of ammo in their guns, since most of them are wielding melee weapons and slinging magic, instead they have Vigor. Vigor drains with the use of any of your abilities, whether that's a basic melee attack or an area of effect wind spell. While some of the more powerful abilities may have to have a turn or 2 to cool down after being used, the real debate about using them is how much vigor you're willing to consume for the action. I mean, it would be risky, after all, to send Cheyenne to go punch that enemy who's surrounded by all of his friends. And he's behind cover, so the odds of hitting with a basic lightning attack aren't very high. Of course, you could always call down a bolt of lightning from the sky, thus negating a good bit of the cover bonus and doing a ton of damage. But doing that would mean that Cheyenne wouldn't have enough vigor next turn to attack. Recovering that vigor only requires your character to use a universal ability to restore it back to full. No problem, right? Except doing so will leave that character unable to act for quite a while, because the amount of time that adds before you're able to take your next turn is extremely high. Knowing what to use when, and how to make sure your team is ready for what's around the next corner, is key to success in Troubleshooter. Outside of combat, there's plenty to keep you busy in Valhalla. In addition to tackling the main story missions, you can spend time taking side jobs in the various districts you have access to. Doing so helps build trust with the citizenry, and will eventually allow you to apply for jurisdiction over the district. This allows you to receive donations from the people under your protection, which helps fund your little company. After all, you have to pay wages to the rest of your team. And rent. And you have to keep them outfitted in the best weapons and armor you can find. And then again, if you don't quite find what you're looking for, you can always break down the loot you've gathered on your missions and craft some gear yourself. And you can't forget to head out into town and help the colorful locals with some problems they're dealing with. There's no better way to build up your reputation as a company and start climbing the ranks, allowing you more and more opportunities. And maybe while you're out there, you can do some trading with other troubleshooter companies. After all, one of your friends on Steam might have something you really need. The fact is, there's a lot to do, and even I'm still just scratching the surface. Now, you may start to ask about the quality of the story itself. That's the closest thing to a mixed bag the game has going for it, and that's for one simple reason. The translation. The game is made by a Korean team, and the translation that we have is what I'd best describe as perfectly adequate. You'll rarely struggle to understand what the characters are saying or what you're supposed to do, but you'll also never really forget that this wasn't a story natively written in English. Some of the phrasing is incredibly weird and unnatural, some of the descriptions are a bit obtuse, and the character dialogue never feels quite right. The characters themselves are likable and full of personality, but it does feel like you're experiencing it at a distance. It's almost like your friend telling you about a funny thing that happened to them. You recognize that if you were there, probably would have been funny, but you weren't. And it's not. I don't doubt the story and characters are well written and interesting in native Korean, but that's not the version I'm playing. Even still, the plot itself does have intrigue, and even through the translation, there are still incredibly powerful and emotional moments that ring through. The story isn't ever a problem in Troubleshooter, but with the current English translation, it's probably not going to be what keeps you coming back. So, do I recommend Troubleshooter Abandoned Children? Obviously, hell yes, this game is fun, in-depth, and a real gem buried in the depths of Steam. From what I've heard from people who are much farther than I, there are hundreds of hours of content tucked into this little game that could. And with over 600 masteries, you'll never run out of inspiration for fun builds for your party. But the biggest reasons that I strongly recommend this game are thus. 1, this game deserves to be far bigger than it currently is. And 2, it's $25. Seriously, it's only $25. That's not a sale, that is the actual asking price. I feel like Dandylion are really cutting themselves short here by not charging more, honestly. The game deserves to be worth at least double that, but on our end, that's a steal. And I recommend you take them up on the offer before somebody over there gets wise to the fact that we are getting an absolute deal from them. For my review in progress for Troubleshooter Abandoned Children, I'd say buy right now, if I haven't made that clear already. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I just really felt like making this video because I feel like this game is something really special and everybody is sleeping on it. So if you like this video, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's huge help for us. We're still young and fighting, and every little bit is a huge help. Also, I'm not sponsored. I wish, God, but I promise I'm not. I just felt like championing this game with my non-existent subscriber base and, mediocre video editing skills. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Be safe, guys.